The vast hall of the Galactic Council was alive with light. Hundreds of glowing panels floated in the air, casting sharp blue and silver reflections across the walls that stretched so high they seemed endless. Around the curved chamber, the voices of alien leaders echoed, low and powerful, like the sound of distant storms. It was a place where decisions about whole star systems were made, where empires were judged, and where the fate of countless species was sealed. Today, the subject of the council was humanity. At the center of the hall stood a massive table made of shimmering crystal, glowing faintly as if the table itself was alive. Around it sat alien figures of every shape and kind, scaled, feathered, armored, some towering and others small but glowing with strange energy. They looked very different from one another, but they were united in one thing, their verdict on Earth. The leader of the council, a tall alien with pale golden skin and eyes like burning stars, spoke with a voice that carried across the chamber. His tone was cold, final, and without pity. Humanity is no more. Earth is silent. The words struck the chamber like a blade cutting through still water. For a moment, silence followed, then whispers began to spread among the council. Deep voices, hissing tones, chittering sounds, all repeating the same thought. Humanity, gone. The humans, who once roamed across colonies and ships, who once stood in battles that shook worlds, were now believed to be extinct. They were reckless, one alien said, his body covered in jagged metal plates. His eyes glowed green with triumph. They challenged powers far beyond their reach. Their end was expected. Another alien, with wings that shimmered like glass, gave a sharp laugh. Their fire burned too quickly. A young species, thinking themselves strong enough to reshape the galaxy. But in the end, they were fragile. The chamber filled with agreement. Heads nodded, claws tapped against the crystal table, wings shifted with satisfaction. The verdict of the council had been spoken, and the galaxy seemed eager to accept it. Humanity was dead. Earth had fallen. But in the shadow of the council hall, almost forgotten, sat one human woman. She did not sit at the table with the others. Her chair was pushed back, close to the wall, half hidden by the glow of the panels above. She wore no grand uniform, no glowing robe like the alien leaders. Her suit was dark, simple, and her hair hung loosely around her face. Yet her eyes were steady, calm, watching. The aliens noticed her only when she did not move, when she did not lower her head like a defeated survivor. Instead, she sat upright, her hands resting lightly in her lap, her gaze locked forward as if she had been waiting for this exact moment. One alien, large and scaled, turned his head toward her. His lip curled in something close to amusement. "You sit quietly, human. Do you not hear? Your kind has been judged. Your world is gone. Do you not mourn?" The woman's eyes flicked to him, then back to the council table. She did not answer. Her silence was unsettling. Another alien, smaller, with long silver fingers, leaned forward. Perhaps she refuses to believe. A last act of denial before her mind breaks. More laughter followed. Harsh, echoing through the grand hall. Yet even as they mocked her, none could ignore the strange presence she carried. She was not trembling. She was not crying. Her face was calm, her lips set in a quiet line, her eyes sharp and unwavering. It was then that the leader of the council turned his golden gaze upon her. His voice rang out again, deeper now, as if to test her. "Human. Do you understand what has been spoken here today? Your species is gone. Earth lies in silence. You are nothing more than a relic of a dead world. Accept this truth." The woman finally moved. Slowly, she lifted her chin and looked directly at him. For a heartbeat, the hall grew quieter. Even the whispers died. When she spoke, her voice was soft, so soft that many leaned forward to hear. But though the words were gentle, they cut like a blade. "You are wrong." The words were simple. Almost too simple. And yet, as they echoed through the chamber, something about them carried weight far beyond their sound. The laughter died. The mocking smiles faded. The golden-eyed leader narrowed his gaze, studying her. "Wrong," he repeated. His voice was laced with disbelief. "You dare challenge the verdict of this council? Speak, then. Tell us why we are wrong." The woman did not argue. She did not raise her voice or defend with long speeches. Instead, She whispered a single line. It was so quiet, so sharp, that it was almost lost in the hum of the glowing panels around the hall. But every ear heard it. Every heart felt it. The aliens froze. For a moment, no one spoke. Her words were too strange, too heavy to dismiss instantly. They carried the kind of weight that only truth or prophecy could hold. Whispers rose again, but this time they were not mocking. They were uncertain, uneasy. "What did she say?" one alien asked, his voice tight. Another repeated the line under his breath, as if testing it. He frowned, his eyes narrowing. "It makes no sense. And yet it feels like a warning," muttered another. The golden-skinned leader leaned back slowly, his burning eyes fixed on her face. "You dare bring riddles into this hall? Do you think words can undo the silence of your world?" Still, she did not flinch. Her calmness was now more dangerous than her words. The way she sat, the way she looked at them, it was not the gaze of someone defeated. It was the gaze of someone waiting. Someone who knew something the rest did not. The scaled alien slammed his clawed hand against the crystal table, making it ring like struck glass. "She plays games. She cannot accept reality." Earth burned. Humanity scattered. The silence is real. But even as he shouted, the others were no longer so sure. The memory of humanity lingered in their minds, memories of battles where humans fought long after they should have fallen, memories of colonies that rebuilt after destruction, memories of soldiers who smiled even at death. Silence fell again, heavy and uncertain. The woman in the shadows did not speak further. She had given them her line, and now she simply waited, her eyes steady, her hands calm. Suspense thickened in the chamber. The council had declared humanity extinct. The galaxy had accepted it. And yet, one woman, sitting quietly in the shadows, had shaken them with nothing more than a whisper. Why was she so calm when her world had been declared dead? The answer had not yet come. But the question was enough to fill the hall with unease. And in that silence, deep inside the hearts of even the most powerful alien leaders, a seed of doubt began to grow. The hall of the council still carried the weight of her words. The whisper had been short, almost fragile, but it lived in the minds of every alien who heard it. No one spoke for several long moments. The glowing lights above continued to hum softly, screens shifted with reports and data about the ruined Earth, yet no one looked at them. All eyes, whether burning, glowing, or shifting with alien colors, were fixed on the lone woman who refused to break. At last, a voice rose, sharp and angry. A commander covered in dark scales leaned forward, his claws scraping against the crystal table. "You dare," he hissed, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You dare claim the council is wrong? Humanity is ash. I saw the fires myself. Earth is silent. What proof do you have, human?" The woman's gaze shifted slowly toward him. Her eyes did not harden with anger, nor soften with fear. She only watched him the way one watches a storm in the distance, acknowledging its power but unmoved by its rage. When she finally spoke, her voice was still soft, as if it belonged in another room, another time. "I do not need proof," she said. "The truth carries itself." Her words fell like cold water in the heated chamber. Some laughed, though their laughter cracked. Others frowned, unsettled. The scaled commander snarled and slammed his fist again, but he did not strike her. Something in her calmness made him hesitate. One alien with glowing wings leaned close to another, whispering, "She speaks like those who have nothing left to lose." "No," the other replied in a low tone, his eyes never leaving her face. "She speaks like one who knows more than she should." The golden-skinned leader of the council leaned forward now, his burning gaze fixed on her. He did not laugh, nor shout. His voice was quiet, deliberate. "Your people are gone. Your homeworld lies in silence. Entire fleets were destroyed. Cities burned until nothing remained. Why, then, do you sit in peace while we declare the death of your kind?" The woman's lips curved slightly, not into a smile, but into something colder. "Because silence is not death. You think Earth is quiet, but you do not understand what that means." Her words spread through the chamber like smoke, invisible but choking. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Many remembered battles against humans. They remembered soldiers who fought with broken bodies, settlers who rebuilt colonies even after plague and fire, pilots who rammed their dying ships into enemy cruisers just to take them down. Humanity had always been loud in its defiance. If the humans were silent now, what did that silence mean? The winged alien leaned back, unease flickering across his sharp face. "It is a trick," he muttered. "It must be." But the silver-fingered alien shook his head. His voice trembled slightly as he said, "No, there is weight in her words. If silence is not death, then perhaps silence is waiting." The chamber grew colder, as if the very walls understood the meaning. Waiting. Could it be? Could humanity, instead of perishing, be preparing? The woman closed her eyes for a moment, as if listening to something far away, and then whispered again. The same words, no louder than before. A single line that pressed against every mind, gnawed at every doubt. The scaled commander growled, his claws digging deep grooves into the shining table. "She speaks riddles. We waste our time." But no one laughed with him now. No one shouted in triumph. The council was no longer united in victory. Doubt had broken them, and fear was beginning to grow in its place. The golden-eyed leader narrowed his gaze at her. "You sit in silence, human, and whisper lines that twist the hearts of my council. I demand you speak plainly. What truth hides behind your words? What do you know?" Her eyes opened again, steady as ever, calm as a sea untouched by storm. "You declared us extinct too soon," she said. "You think silence is our end. But silence is how we begin." A ripple passed through the chamber. Every alien felt it, though none could explain it. The words settled into them like seeds, heavy with meaning. Some leaned forward in fascination. Others looked away, as if afraid her gaze might burn through them. The commander tried to laugh, but the sound was hollow. The golden leader remained silent. And the woman, still seated in the shadows, waited. Her whisper had become something more than denial. It had become a warning. And the question that none of them dared to speak aloud now clawed at their minds. If humanity was silent, then what were they waiting for? The council chamber had grown uneasy. The glow of the crystal table no longer felt like a beacon of authority but like cold light cast over secrets none wished to face. Her words had slipped into the air and stayed there, clinging to every corner of the hall, to every mind that tried to dismiss them. Silence is not death. Silence is how we begin. The scaled commander sat back, his claws tapping against the table, the rhythm uneven. For all his fury, he did not rise to strike her. Something held him in place, a shadow of doubt that had crept into him despite his anger. Other council members exchanged looks. Some narrowed their eyes in suspicion, others whispered to their neighbors, their voices carrying tones not of victory, but of unease. A species truly extinct left no doubt, no questions. Yet here sat the last human, unbroken, speaking words that felt heavier than her slight frame should allow. "She is a liar," one alien muttered, his voice trembling more than he intended. "She clings to hope because she has nothing else." "No," another said slowly, his eyes glowing faintly as he studied her. "Hope speaks with desperation. Her words carry certainty. She is not begging us to believe, she is warning us." The golden-skinned leader finally raised his hand. The whispers fell away like dust scattered by wind. All eyes turned back to him, and the burning light of his gaze fell fully on the woman. "You speak as if you hold knowledge beyond our sight. Humanity was defeated, burned, scattered. Your colonies fell, your fleets were torn apart. What strength could remain?" The woman did not answer at once. She sat very still, her eyes locked on him, unblinking. The silence stretched long enough that some in the chamber leaned forward, waiting, as though her words would strike like a blade. When she did speak, her voice was quiet, measured, and chillingly certain. "You saw our cities burn. You saw our fleets fall. But you never saw us surrender." Her words hung in the air like smoke. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The memory of humanity's stubbornness was alive in all of them. Every species in that hall had fought humans at some point. They remembered the long sieges, the battles that dragged on far beyond reason, the soldiers who fought even when defeat was clear. Humans had always been the ones who refused to accept finality. The scaled commander let out a low growl, but even he seemed less certain now. His claws no longer tapped the table. They rested, still. A smaller alien, with translucent skin that glowed faintly from the light of organs beneath, leaned forward. His voice was thin but carried far in the silence. If humanity has not surrendered, then where are they? We see no fleets. We hear no signals. Earth itself lies in quiet shadow. The woman's eyes shifted toward him. For a moment, she said nothing, and her silence felt heavier than her words. Then she leaned forward slightly, her calm face lit by the cold glow of the chamber. "You look for us in the light," she said softly. "But you never learned to fear what waits in the dark." The words rippled through the hall like a chill wind. Several council members glanced at one another, unease written in every gesture. The Golden Leader's gaze hardened. "Riddles again," he said, but even his voice no longer carried the iron certainty it had before. "Not riddles," she whispered. "Memory." The scaled commander bared his teeth. "She speaks nonsense. We waste time on shadows. Humanity is gone." His voice rose, but his eyes did not meet hers. He spoke louder, as if trying to convince himself. Still, no one echoed him. The chamber was quiet, each leader caught in their own thoughts, their own memories of humanity's defiance. For the first time since the verdict was spoken, the council was no longer united. The woman's calmness had become a fracture in their certainty. Doubt had begun to bleed through the cracks. And doubt, once planted, grew like a seed in every heart. The whispers began again, but now they were different. No longer mocking, no longer triumphant. They were whispers of fear. What if she was right? What if silence was not the end, but the waiting breath before the storm? And through it all, she sat in her shadowed seat, her eyes steady, her presence unshaken, as though she knew that the longer they doubted, the closer her truth drew near. The chamber dimmed as the great holographic screens above the council table flickered to life. Images formed in the air, vast fields of stars, scattered debris, and then Earth itself. The planet turned slowly in the projection, a sphere half shrouded in shadow. Where once there had been glowing cities and seas alive with light, there was only darkness. The image zoomed closer. Fires burned faintly across the continents, smoke rising into the atmosphere like black scars. The oceans shimmered with the faint glow of wreckage, thousands of broken satellites and ruined ships drifting in orbit like a graveyard. It was a picture of silence, a picture of death. "Look," the scaled commander said, his voice sharp and triumphant. "This is your proof. Earth is broken. Humanity is gone. Nothing but ruins remain." Several council members nodded, their unease lessened by the hard image before them. The truth was visible, undeniable. The homeworld of humanity lay in ashes. But the woman did not look away from the projection. Her gaze did not falter, her lips did not tremble. She studied the hologram with calm, steady eyes, as if the broken planet meant something different to her than it did to the council. One alien with long silver fingers leaned forward, watching her closely. "You see it," he said. "You cannot deny what your own eyes show. Why do you not weep? Why do you not bow your head in shame?" The woman's hand rose slowly, her finger lifting to the image of Earth. The hall grew quiet as every eye followed her movement. She traced the edges of the planet in the projection, her finger hovering just above the glowing line of shadow that cut across its surface. When she spoke, her voice was soft again, yet it carried to every corner of the chamber. "You see ruins," she said. "I see silence. But silence is not the end. Silence is a choice." Her finger stopped at the edge of Earth's night side, the vast half of the planet hidden in darkness. "You look at the fires, at the broken cities, and you believe all has fallen. But you never look where the light does not reach." The council shifted uneasily. The image hung in the air, the night side of Earth black and unreadable, hiding whatever might remain. The Golden Leader narrowed his eyes. "Are you saying your kind still hides there? That humanity lives in the shadows of its own ruin?" The woman turned her gaze to him, calm and certain. "I am saying you never understood us. You watch for noise, for fire, for war shouted in the stars. But we are more than that. When the fires burn out, we do not die, we prepare." Her words rippled through the chamber. Some shook their heads in denial, but others froze, their faces tight with thought. The memory of humanity's stubborn survival pressed against them. Every defeat that had never truly been a defeat, every broken colony that had risen again stronger than before. The scaled commander growled low in his throat. Lies. Delusions. You think one planet, one scattered species, can deceive the galaxy? We saw your fleets crushed. We saw your colonies burn. The woman did not flinch. She did not even look at him. Instead, she repeated her line, louder this time, with a weight that struck the council like a hammer. Silence is not death. Silence is how we begin. The words hung in the air, impossible to shake. The silver-fingered alien whispered to himself, his voice trembling. If that is true, then what is hidden in that silence? No one answered. No one could. The hologram of Earth spun slowly above them, half in fire, half in darkness, and in that darkness the imagination of the council began to stir. What if the silence was not emptiness? What if it was waiting? What if humanity had chosen the shadows for a reason? The chamber was quiet again, but this time the quiet was not triumph. It was fear. And still, she sat unmoved, her eyes calm, as though every flicker of doubt in their hearts had been her plan all along. The silence in the chamber grew heavier, as though the very walls were holding their breath. The hologram of Earth turned slowly, the broken surface lit by fire, the other half swallowed by endless shadow. The council members stared at it, but their thoughts were no longer on what they saw. Their minds wandered backward, drawn unwillingly to memories they had hoped were long buried. The winged alien shifted uneasily, his bright feathers rustling against the still air. His voice was low, meant only for those nearest to him, yet in the hushed chamber it carried farther than he intended. Do you remember Ceres Station? They said the humans would not last a week under siege. And yet. The scaled commander's eyes narrowed, but he did not speak. Others, however, nodded. The memory came quickly, as if it had been waiting in the corners of their minds. The humans had been trapped, their supplies cut, their defenses shattered. And still, they fought on. For weeks they endured, making weapons from scraps, turning every corridor into a trap. When the station finally fell, half the invading force had already been destroyed, and the humans had fought to the very last breath. Another council member, a being with translucent skin glowing faintly from within, whispered hoarsely. They held the mines of Callisto after the oceans boiled. Even when poison filled the air, they sealed themselves underground. Everyone thought they had perished, but a year later, they emerged again. Stronger. Fiercer. The silver-fingered alien closed his eyes, his voice trembling now. They do not let go. Even when they break, they rise. The scaled commander slammed his claws into the table, shattering the whispers with a growl. Enough. You speak of battles long past. They are ash now. The council has spoken, and the galaxy has seen their end. His voice echoed in the chamber, but it carried less weight than before. It sounded more desperate, less certain. The woman remained in her seat, calm as ever. Her gaze swept across them, meeting their eyes one by one. She said nothing, but her silence pressed harder than any words. It was as though she had planted a seed of fear, and now it grew without her tending. The golden leader's burning eyes narrowed, but even he felt the chill creeping through the room. He had seen them too, the battles where humanity refused to yield. Fleets that returned from destruction. Colonies that rebuilt after fire and plague. Soldiers who smiled at death because they had already decided it would not be the end. He leaned forward, his voice low, controlled, but with an edge that betrayed his unease. If silence is not death, human, then what is it? What lies in the shadows of your ruined world? At last, the woman's lips curved slightly, almost a smile but colder, sharper. Her voice was steady, each word carrying a weight the council could not ignore. It is the space between heartbeats. The moment before the strike. It is the storm you do not see until it breaks above you. A ripple of unease moved through the chamber. Some tried to scoff, to laugh, but the sound was hollow. The memories of humanity's relentless will were too strong. The thought of silence being not an end but a gathering, of strength, of fury, of return, settled like ice in their veins. One council member whispered what the others dared not. What if they have not fallen at all? What if Earth's silence hides something waiting? The golden leader's gaze burned at the woman, but even he could not crush the weight of her presence. She had said little, only a whisper, only fragments of truth, yet she had shattered their unity. Where once there had been triumph, there was now fear. And through it all, the woman sat in the shadows, calm and still. As though she knew their fear was only the beginning. As though she knew the silence they dreaded was already ending. The chamber felt colder now, though no wind touched the air and no change came from the great lights above. The cold was not in the room, but in the hearts of those who sat within it. Doubt had crept into every corner, wrapping itself around every thought. The whispers that once mocked the woman were gone. What replaced them was quieter, darker, fear carried in low voices and uncertain glances. The golden-skinned leader kept his burning eyes fixed on her. He had heard every word, every whisper she gave them, and though he tried to hold his face in stone, the weight pressed against him as well. He leaned forward on the crystal table, his voice deep but strained. Enough of shadows and riddles. Speak clearly, human. What is this truth you carry? What is the meaning of your silence? The woman's gaze did not waver. She rose slowly from her chair in the shadows, the simple fabric of her dark suit brushing softly as she stood. The movement drew every eye in the hall. The glow of the hologram cast Earth's broken sphere across her face, half light and half dark, as though she wore the very symbol of her words. She stood still for a moment, letting the silence press against them, letting the weight grow until the chamber seemed ready to break under it. Then her voice came, soft, calm, but with a clarity that cut through the room like a blade. We do not die in silence. We rise in shadows. The words struck harder than thunder. They echoed in the minds of the council, and none could escape their meaning. For silence had always been, to them, the mark of defeat, the sign of an end. But now those same quiet spaces seemed alive, filled with the promise of something unseen. The winged alien recoiled slightly, his feathers bristling. Rise, in shadows? What does she mean? Rise from where? Rise how? His voice trembled, betraying his fear. The silver-fingered alien leaned back, shaking his head slowly. She means what we never wished to believe. That Earth's silence is not death, it is preparation. The scaled commander snarled, slamming his fist against the table so hard cracks spread across its glowing surface. Lies. Empty words. Humanity has no strength left to rise. But even as he shouted, he remembered. He remembered a battle fought above Titan, when a human fleet had been destroyed, scattered into dust. Days later, new ships had appeared, built from wreckage, manned by soldiers who should have been broken. He remembered the fear in that moment, when he realized the humans did not need victory to fight, they only needed the will to keep moving. The Golden Leader's voice was quiet now, quieter than anyone had ever heard it in the council chamber. You speak as though this silence is by design. As though humanity has chosen to vanish from our sight. To wait. The woman's eyes glimmered in the glow of the hologram. You declared us extinct. You believed fire and ash were the end of us. But you never learned the truth. Humanity does not fall in the light. Humanity grows in the dark. The chamber was silent again, but not with certainty. It was the silence of fear. The image of Earth's shadowed half loomed above them all, black and unknowable. And in that blackness, they began to see not emptiness but the shape of something hidden, waiting, breathing quietly until the time came to rise. The woman lowered her gaze then, as if her words had been enough. She did not argue further, she did not shout. She simply stood, calm and unshaken, while the council wrestled with the weight of her truth. And in every mind, the same thought now lingered: if humanity had not died, then what were they becoming? The chamber lights dimmed as the council ended its formal session, but none of the leaders rose from their seats. The golden-skinned leader still sat forward, hands clasped tightly, his stare locked on the human woman as though her calm presence was a puzzle he could not solve. Around him, the other aliens whispered in languages older than stars, but even in their strange tongues the word human drifted again and again. The hologram of Earth spun slowly in the center of the chamber. Its cracked surface glowed faintly red where old scars burned, yet half of it remained dark, unlit, unreadable. For centuries, the council had studied worlds, scanning every ocean and mountain, mapping every moon. But tonight, the darkness of Earth seemed thicker than usual, as if something beneath its surface refused to be seen. The winged alien's feathers rustled uneasily. If what she says is true, he whispered, Then where are they? Why do they not show themselves? The silver-fingered alien tilted his head, his glowing eyes narrowing. Perhaps they already have. The words drew the others closer. His long fingers tapped against the cracked table, leaving faint trails of light. There are signals we dismissed as background noise. Shifts in asteroid belts that were too precise to be natural. A fragment of energy recorded beyond Jupiter, faint but human in design. A murmur spread. The scaled commander growled low in his throat. Ghosts. That is all you have, ghosts. The woman finally moved again. Her steps were slow, measured, as she walked toward the hologram of Earth. The chamber grew silent, every eye following her. She stopped at the edge of the glowing sphere and lifted her hand. The projection shifted, spinning faster until the shadowed side of Earth faced them all. The dark half glowed faintly now, as if hidden structures pulsed beneath its surface. Lines of light flickered, thin, sharp, deliberate. Not natural. Not broken. Gasps echoed across the council chamber. The golden leader rose halfway from his seat, his calm mask cracking. What is this? This cannot be real. The woman's voice was quiet, but each word struck like stone. You declared Earth silent. But silence is not the end. Silence is a shield. And behind it, we build. The scaled commander's jaw tightened, his ridges flaring with anger. But even his defiance faltered as he stared at the shifting lights across Earth's hidden side. The winged alien leaned forward, eyes wide, feathers trembling. No, it cannot be. Entire fleets hidden beneath the planet's dark side? Impossible. But the woman only lowered her hand, letting the projection fade back to silence. Impossible, she said, is the word you use until humanity proves you wrong. For the first time, true fear rippled through the great hall. Not fear of a dead world, but of one that might rise again stronger than before. And though the chamber fell quiet, the weight of that silence carried something none of them could deny. Humanity's story was not over. It had only gone deeper into the shadows. The council chamber stood frozen. No one dared move, as though the very air had thickened around them. The woman stepped back into the shadows where she had first sat, calm and steady, as though nothing she revealed had been extraordinary at all. Her silence now carried more weight than all their arguments combined. High above, the hologram of Earth lingered for a final moment before fading. Yet in the minds of every leader, the image of faint lines glowing in the dark side of the planet remained. None of them could erase it. None of them could dismiss it. The golden-skinned leader finally sank back into his chair. His voice was low, almost to himself. If humanity has hidden fleets, if they have been building unseen, he trailed off, unable to finish the thought. The winged alien shifted uncomfortably, feathers pressed flat against his back. We thought them weak. We thought them broken. But what if we have only been watched? What if every move we made, every war we fought, every secret we shared in this very chamber, was already known to them? The scaled commander slammed his fist against the table once more, but there was no strength in it. His snarl lacked fire. We should have crushed them completely. We should have burned every stone, every shadow. Now it may be too late. The silver-fingered alien leaned back, his strange eyes reflecting the fading glow of the chamber. Too late, he whispered, because they are patient. Too late, because they have turned silence into their greatest weapon. Too late, because while we declared them gone, they were already preparing to return. The woman did not smile, but her eyes gleamed faintly in the dim light. She spoke at last, her words quiet, steady, unshaken. You looked at the ashes and thought the fire was gone. You never learned that fire hides, too. It waits beneath the coals until the moment it chooses to rise again. A silence followed her words, but it was not the silence of triumph nor defeat. It was the silence of inevitability. The council had seen enough to know that humanity was not finished. Somewhere in the shadows, in the dark half of their broken world, something vast and unseen was waiting. The great hall of the council seemed smaller now, its towering pillars less certain, its light less pure. For every leader present, the same question burned quietly in their minds. If humanity was building in silence, then when would they emerge? And when they did, would the galaxy be ready? The woman's gaze swept across them one last time, and then she closed her eyes. She had said enough. The council was left with a truth more terrifying than extinction: humanity had not fallen. Humanity was waiting.